Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Good American Family. Christina Hendricks reflects on playing the complex savior for Natalia Grace. Good American Family was filmed before the real-life Natalia Grace had such an abrupt departure from the life of Cynthia Mans, which was captured in The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, the final chapter. However, the show still presciently, albeit subtly, raises a question about the true intention of the woman who appears to be a hero for the suffering child. Was she truly an angel who swooped in and saved the day for this girl out of the goodness of her heart, or did she have an ulterior financial motive for helping Natalia? Episode 6 begins with Natalia Imogen Faith Reed struggling in the GED class. Christine Ellen Pompeo is forcing her to take so she can become financially independent of the Barnetts. In part, she falls behind because the assignment is for Natalia to write about herself, and Christine has threatened her with violence and even further neglect if she doesn't say what Christine wants her to. There's also the fact that she's only 8 years old, so she should be in elementary school, not there. Worse, Natalia is essentially starving. We see her eating scraps from a dumpster and discover she hasn't gone shopping in weeks, and she has to walk miles to and from school on severely blistered feet. When Cynthia, Christina Hendricks, randomly drives up, she finds Natalia in obvious distress. Although Natalia is reluctant to accept help and claims to be an adult, per Christine's threats, Cynthia is persistent and clever in her conversations with Natalia. She pretends to accept her claim of adulthood, although she knows this is a kid in trouble. She even repeats Natalia's innocent cataclog's mispronunciation without skipping a beat to help keep up the ruse. She talks Natalia into accepting a ride home and letting Cynthia in to see the squalid conditions she's living in. So far, Cynthia's behaviors are purely altruistic. However, when Cynthia takes Natalia grocery shopping, asks to use her EBT card, and then hauls all of the food to her own house, it's confusing, especially once we find out her sprawling family has financial woes of their own. Later, Cynthia also takes Natalia to redirect her disability payments from Christine's home to her address. It's very clever of them. Christina Hendricks told TV Insider of those shadows of doubt about Cynthia's character sprinkled throughout the episode. She seems like a place of safety, a place of comfort, but then there's these little moments where you go, wait a minute, that doesn't seem quite right. Is she taking advantage of her? Is she true to her word? Still, Cynthia is the strident defender Natalia needs at this moment, demanding real help from a doctor, calling herself Natalia's mother, and even dealing with Christine's incessant calls. She also immediately forgives Natalia for hitting her, something Natalia had also done to Christine during a tantrum, and surrounds her with her own kids, along with warmth and understanding. By the end of the episode, Natalia is clean. She takes a bath for the first time in who knows how long, which is a sign of her trust in Cynthia, fed and smiling. She's even been assured that she is loved by a parental figure for the first time since Christine and Michael, Mark Duplass, decided to abuse and abandon her. To dig into the complexities of Cynthia and how her presence changes everything for Natalia Grace on Good American Family, TV Insider caught up with Christina Hendricks. Christina Hendricks, I think it was really important to have those little moments because I come in at a time where we're flipping perspectives, so it really needed to be a huge juxtaposition to what you were seeing from the Barnett side. So, in order to do that, I needed to be a safe place, a loving place, a home that could take her in at a time when she had literally no people and nothing on her side. But that being said, this is not a black and white story by any means, and we have to show those moments of question and of Natalia's questioning. She can't just go from a place where she feels like she can't trust anyone to just turning to a new person and trusting them 100%. That wouldn't be realistic. So it was important to have these little questions pop up in the actor would say costumes and hair and makeup do so much to just change how you feel as a person. I had not a lot of time to prepare, but I had taken lots of screen grabs from the ID series of things that I was like. This would be really interesting to use for Cynthia. I've noticed this about her. I noticed that she never wore pants. I only saw her skirts, and I noticed that she liked to have fun with her clothing. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I think maybe she's used to being around kids a lot, and she wants to be a fun person with kids. So she has this sort of joyful presentation of herself, to a certain extent, where she's sort of relaxed and has fun, and doesn't think too much about it, but thinks about things she likes that make her smile. So when we went through wardrobe, that's the kind of stuff we wanted to think about. Which stores would she have available to be shopping at? And what kind of pieces would she choose from those stores? And also a level of comfort, because I feel like there's a lot of like cuddling children and hugging children. And so we wanted to take all those things into mind. But I also sort of wanted to change the way I walked, because I feel like if you're walking in those kinds of shoes or in those kinds of clothes, it's distinct. So I sort of put on a different kind of walk and moved my hands differently. And I feel like it all just helped inform a sort of comfortability about her. Yeah, I think it's about having the knowledge that this is full well a child. And it needs to be very important that Cynthia thinks that because the Barnetts do not, but also showing her the amount of respect that like, if this child is going to tell me she's an adult, I'm gonna sit here and listen to her story and follow through. So I wanted to be her friend, and I didn't want to come across as being too motherly or too doting in the beginning, because I wanted to be like, I'm cool, we're cool, I get it, let's be buddies. So I really wanted to approach it like that, but with full well knowing that we had someone who had had some trauma in their life, and needed nurturing but needed to be treated very sensitively. I think one thing that was a real key to me, and a very important line in that moment, is that she says, "Look what you made me do." Natalia says that when she hits her, she goes, "Look what you made me do." And I feel like that is a key phrase that abusers use. That makes Cynthia clock something in her that either Cynthia's experienced in her own life, or maybe some of the children that she's taken in. But that phrase says something to her. That says, oh, this isn't the first time this has happened, and she's heard this phrasing before, and I think it's heartbreaking. That was actually the very first scene we shot together. That was my very first scene on the show, so I was terrified. I had just gotten cast, and I had just gotten there, and I was trying out a new accent in front of everyone, and wasn't sure how it was gonna fly. And I hadn't had a chance to work with a dialect coach yet, so I was trembling in my boots in general. So I was sort of in survival mode as far as like, let's get into set mode and do what you do. Imogen was so welcoming and so easy to be around, so immediately I just followed her lead, and I looked at this vulnerable person in this excruciatingly sad space, and as long as I knew my lines, I could sort of follow her lead. I think that you want to make sure, 'cause we've seen them in the car together, and then they show up at this apartment. You want to see signs that Cynthia is truly concerned and really wants to help her. Otherwise, that moment when we get into the grocery store where she has to use her card, we need to have that different level. We have to trust her, and then we have to question her. And I think in that scene, I wanted the audience to see through my eyes how dire the situation was. And then also to have at the end, Cynthia picks up with a joke, like, hey, I need your help. You come help me cook for my family, and try to befriend her again. So it was a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, and kind of an intense scene to start with. But in some ways, a great scene to start with, because it just sort of established a lot of stuff between the two very quickly.